What's going on, everybody? It's Belladonna Joe, aka just call me Joe. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. Alright, so I was pregnant at 16, had my daughter at 17. Excuse me. I was already diagnosed with bipolar at age 15, so I was going on all these medications, trying new things, whatever. So, long story short, I get pregnant at 16, and in my town, like I live in Milwaukee, but I lived in a suburb at the time. So, in that town, they were like, if you're not the guy that I got pregnant with, he was like in my high school, but he was like 4 years older. So, but we met at this restaurant called That's Amore, and he was the cook, like the chef, and I was the hostess. Okay, of course. And we met, and he was like into smoking weed, like that was his really big thing. And me, I was never into that shit. Like I tried it, but it wasn't, it wasn't for me. Nothing too big on it. Okay, so this is how I got him. I was like, oh, can we go smoke in your car? He's like, sure, I guess. And I don't smoke. Like I didn't give a fuck about smoking. I just wanted to talk to him. Like I just wanted to fucking be with them, Anyway, so we start smoking, and then, the restaurant's closed, and my mom pulls up in the car. She pulls up to Neil, that's my kid's dad, and she's like, do you know where Joanna is? She didn't come home from work. Her car's here. Your car's here. There's no other cars here. What's going on? He's like, I don't know. And I was hiding down below the seat, and I was like, shh, don't tell my mom nothing. And then all of a sudden, she's like, well, I'm gonna call the police. And I popped in like, Ma, don't call the police, I'm fine, I'm right here. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing in there? So she calls at the restaurant and says to the manager, don't let Juliana near him, he's too old for her, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, that didn't stop us, okay? So we were together since then. So, in my city, they were like, okay, if you don't get married to him, then we're going to charge him with statutory rape or whatever the fuck it is. So I was like, my parents, being 16, you have to get permission. You need both parents' permission to get married. You can't be like, okay, I'm just going to get permission from my damn self. No, you got to have permission from your parents. So what the hell did I do? I got permission and got married, like 8 months pregnant. So, got an apartment. Everything was so fast. I was still in high school. Mind you, I was going to an alternative school. And, I finished school 8 months early. But to go from, like, jumping right into, like, getting knocked up, having all this fun, like, blowing some scopes. We used to call OC, like, the OCs, so they come off and crush them and snort them. We used to call those scopes. Like, that was just, like, our little suburban cult like shit, in my town, like we had, it's still to this day, it's segregated as fuck. Like, you got your preppy people, you got like, your skaters, your gothics, you got whatever. So Franklin, in every grade, we had our little clique, our 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th, 12th, and then graduates. So we had like, it was our druggies, whatever, just all our druggy fucking groups, So, but to go from like blowing scopes, like our OCs, whatever, and doing a little bit of coke, maybe. I don't remember if I did it before I was pregnant. I'm not sure. But to go from that all the way to, okay, I'm pregnant, I'm out of my parents' house, and now, he's working 12 hours, and now I'm just with a kid. And I got diagnosed bipolar, I've been ADHD for a lot of years. But to go from that to that, it's like, shit, your whole life has changed, like, your whole life. I did not use at all when I was pregnant. I was offered a line in my face, and I was like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. So that tells you right there that, thank God I had my mind straight. But then, as soon as I had my kid, I was just not having it. I was like, man, I can't do this shit. And like, I started calling up old friends and was like, man, I can't take this shit anymore. You know, like, this is hard. Mind you, I was like going from medication to medication. A lot of it wasn't working. So I was trying different medications by the doctor, and I was not abusing them. But I remember my mom came over, and I was like, here, can you just watch her? And I went to like the mental complex, because I thought like you could just go like outpatient and be like, hey, I need my medication. Because at that time I had different insurance, so it's like the doctor wouldn't see me anymore, so I was like out of medication. So I went there, and little did I know, they were like, okay, we're gonna keep you. And I was like, what? I want to go home. I guess I went to the wrong part of the fucking mental complex. I went to like the inpatient part, and you know, like where they ask you some questions or whatever. Because at first, you know, you gotta go through like a metal detector, you gotta give them your shoelaces, you gotta, and I was like, okay, man, all this to do my medication, whatever, fuck it, you know. So I go through the metal detector, give my shoelaces, everything, and then, you know, I'm talking to an intake nurse, and she's like, blah blah blah, whatever, and she's like, okay, we're gonna keep you, but since you have insurance, we're gonna transfer you to Aurora Dewey Center. That's just another mental health place, and I was there once before that when I was like 12 years old. So I called my mom. They have like one phone that people can use. I called my mom, like, Mom, they're keeping me here, they're gonna send me to Aurora Dewey Center, you know, they're gonna adjust my medications, boo boo. So they take me, they transport me by taxi to Aurora Dewey Center. Now that place is like the A1 100% best place that you can go to for like detox. Alright, so I get out of the taxi, and you know, they have already like my shoelaces and like the hoodie strings from your hoodie. They already got all that shit from when they got, you know, did all that stuff at the other place. So the one thing they didn't get was my wedding ring. This is not my wedding ring, by the way, but all right, so I had a wedding ring, and that thing was like the most beautiful thing I ever had. It was like 2 carats, and I was like, damn, I love this thing. They were like, okay, we need the ring because it's considered a dangerous item. Some bullshit they said. So okay, whatever. So they put it in a bag. I was there for like, I don't know, 5 days. And I really don't remember that much from that point, because there wasn't a detox unit in there. I was not there for detox, I was there for mental health. But I remember like this one lady before I went there, when I was at the other place, like she was just nuts, you know, and she came up to me, she's like, you're the fucking devil, you know, and I looked at her, I'm like, all right, I've been called worse, but that's okay. Okay, so then after I was there for the 5 days, you know, you get your stuff, my fucking ring is gone. My ring's gone. And you know what? To this day, I'm like, you know what? That is the perfect fucking job. People working at the, you know, mental place or the detox, and they take their fucking shit, because who's gonna believe someone that's there for mental health? Who's gonna believe them? Who's gonna believe them? Nobody. So to this day, I never got it back. Never got it back. So let's see. What happened after I was married? You know, I went there to the place, I got out, and things just were not going well. I was not on the right medications. I was starting to get into coke. So listen to this. I connect back with like an old high school friend. It was actually a friend of Neil's, not a friend of mine. It was just somebody that he went to high school with. So, you know, I connect back with him. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Can you give me some OCs? And at that time, I think they were like done. It was like OC 40s, excuse me. Which was like 2007, 2008. These were like OC 40s, like the red fire, engine red 40s. So he's like, yeah, okay, come pick me up. So I pick him up, and then, I pick him up, and he goes somewhere, and he comes out, he's like, man, I can't get those, I can get some coke. And I was like, sure, okay, whatever. So, of course, when he gives me the coke, of course I'm wanting more, you know. And for someone that's dealing with any kind of trauma or bipolar, shit, that's gonna make you feel good, but you're gonna want some more. So I kept calling him every day, and there was nothing sexual, there was nothing intimate. It was just strictly like, okay, he's doing coke and whatever the fuck else he's doing, and I'm doing coke. He's benefiting off of me because I'm the one supplying it, so he doesn't have to pay for it. So anyways, it got to a point where I was talking to another friend of Neil's, and he and I started kind of having a relationship and going out. And I told Neil, hey, I don't want to be together anymore. It's not working out. I want to be with this guy. And his name was Mark. Okay, so I went to high school and middle school and grade school with his younger sister. And Mark was like in Neil's grade. And Neil and Mark were best friends. So obviously they're not best friends anymore. And, what did I do? I didn't move in with Mark right away. He lived at like his parents' house, so I moved in with my dad. My parents were getting a divorce at the time, so I moved into a fucking apartment with my dad and my brothers. So, Neil is going through his own thing. He's heartbroken. He's, upset. I am with Mark, and after a couple of months, we get an apartment. I start working at a bank. I'm doing a lot more coke. And I get back in touch with Brian. That's the guy that I was getting coke from before. Neil's other best friend from school. So with Mark, things didn't work out. So I moved back with my dad. I started doing a lot of coke, and I ended up failing a hair follicle test for coke. So Neil got full custody of my daughter. And actually, I signed it over because the lawyers, everything was costing a lot of money. My parents were paying for it. We could not afford it anymore. And why am I going to fight a battle when I'm definitely dirty? And, what the fuck is the point? I'm not going to put my parents through that. So I signed, full custody, and I had, visitation. So, things are not going well. I'm living with my dad. I am partying every fucking day that I can. I would go out to bars, clubs, do a bunch of coke. And the guy that I was getting it from, we're just going to call him Jay. And the guy I was getting it from, he was selling it and, getting it from someone else.